My ex, Mason, had the audacity to waltz back into my life, thinking he could apologize and make things right. After all the pain and damage he caused, he wants a second chance? The nerve. Our family story is far from over, but it won't include him, no matter how much he pleads and promises to change. My name is Emily, and I'm 30 years old. Life's a puzzle, isn't it? You think you've got it all figured out, but then it throws you a curveball that leaves you questioning everything. That's how I felt when I married Mason 5 years ago. We had our adorable daughter, Lily, who's almost 4 now, and on the surface, we seemed like a happy family. But here's the thing, behind closed doors, it was a different story. You see, we lived with Mason's parents, and that added a whole new layer of complexity to our lives. Mason's mother, Margaret, had this knack for making snide remarks about everything. She could turn any joy into a moment of self-doubt. And then there was Mason's father, Robert, who maintained a chilly demeanor toward me. I tried so hard to win his approval, but it always felt like an uphill battle. I couldn't help but tear up as I spoke about this to Mason. We were lying in our small bedroom where Lily's toys were scattered on the floor. Mason, usually my rock, looked at me with a mix of indifference and annoyance. It wasn't the reaction I'd expected. "I just can't take it anymore, Mason," I said, my voice quivering. "I thought we were a team and we could face anything together. But it's unbearable with your parents. The way they treat me, the things they say, I can't do it." Mason, typically a considerate and loving husband, responded with a statement that left me stunned. "Well, if they're acting that way, it's probably your fault. You're the one causing all these problems." My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What? How can you say that? I thought you'd understand how much this was affecting me. Our monthly savings might take a hit, but I thought we'd work something out together." Mason's eyes bore into mine as he said, "I don't see why we should lose money because of you. I could live in a high-rise apartment with my parents, and you're just in the way. Fine, you can have Lily, but you should leave right away." The tears were streaming down my face at this point. "Don't you find your own daughter cute? I'll tell you now, she's not cute because she looks like you." And then he uttered the words that cut deepest. "I was just pretending to dote on her. But what Mom and Dad really wanted was a boy, not a girl." It was like a dagger to my heart. My daughter, the light of my life, was being insulted by her own father. I couldn't take it any longer. "I understand, Mason. I'll leave," I said through sobs. "But I need a week because of Lily. I need to figure things out." He nodded, his coldness unmistakable. "All right, you leave without fail." I turned to Lily, who was still clutching my hand, and whispered, "You know you're Mommy's joy, right? As long as you're with Mommy, it's okay." Lily looked up at me with her innocent eyes and said, "Mommy, stay with me forever." I squeezed her tiny hand, my determination solidifying. "I promise, Lily, Mommy will make you happy no matter what." So there I was, kicked out of my own home, trying to find a place to stay for the night. I called up my friend, Sarah, who kindly offered me her spare room. I couldn't burden her for long, though, so I needed to figure out my next steps quickly. As I sat on the bus, heading to Sarah's place, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. It was tough to accept that Mason, the man I'd married and thought I knew so well, had turned on me like this. I was lost in thought, contemplating the path ahead, when the bus pulled up to my stop. I arrived at Sarah's place, and she greeted me with a warm hug. She was a true friend, someone I could count on when life got tough. We chatted about what had happened, and Sarah offered to help in any way she could. But I didn't want to impose on her for too long. Over the next few days, I started looking for a job, considering childcare for Lily, and searching for a new place to live. It was a whirlwind of planning and decision-making. Lily was my motivation. I needed to provide her with a stable and loving home. As the days turned into weeks, I began to pick up the pieces of my life. I found a job at a local daycare, which allowed me to spend time with Lily while earning a living. It was challenging, juggling work and taking care of her, but I was determined to make it work. One evening after I'd put Lily to bed, I sat down with my laptop and began to research apartments in the area. I needed a place that was affordable, safe, and close to my workplace. It took some time, but I finally found a small but cozy apartment that fit my criteria. I submitted my application and anxiously awaited their response. In the midst of all the chaos, I couldn't help but reflect on the events that had led me here. Mason's abrupt change in attitude had shaken me to the core. I'd always thought that our love was strong, that we could weather any storm together. But now I was on my own, trying to rebuild my life from scratch. The days turned into weeks, and my application for the apartment was approved. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to me. With Sarah's help, I moved my few belongings and Lily into our new home. It wasn't much, but it was ours, and that made it special. I enrolled Lily in a nearby preschool, and she quickly made friends. It warmed my heart to see her smiling and laughing again despite the challenges we faced. We were slowly adapting to our new life, finding a sense of normalcy. As time went on, I maintained a civil relationship with Mason for Lily's sake. He had his visitation rights, and we tried to ensure that she had a healthy relationship with both of her parents. It wasn't always easy, and there were moments of tension, but we both put Lily's well-being first. I continued to work at the daycare, and my coworkers became like a second family to me. They provided support and understanding, making it easier for me to balance work and parenthood. I knew I was fortunate to have such a caring and understanding community around me. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I was determined to rise above it. I had a job, a place to call home, and most importantly, Lily by my side. I couldn't dwell on the past. I had to focus on the future. It was a new chapter in our lives, and I was ready to embrace it with all the strength and love I could muster. And so our journey continued, filled with challenges and triumphs, but always guided by the unwavering love I had for my daughter. Each day brought new opportunities, and I was determined to make the most of them, to create a brighter future for both of us. Life might be a puzzle, but I was determined to solve it one piece at a time. As weeks turned into months, the routine of our new life settled in. I had become quite adept at balancing my job at the daycare with Lily's needs. The friendships I had formed there not only provided support, but also made the long days feel a little less challenging. It was heartwarming to see Lily thriving, making friends of her own, and attending preschool with enthusiasm. Despite the circumstances, I maintained a civil relationship with Mason, or so I thought. Our focus was Lily, ensuring that she continued to have a healthy connection with both her parents. Co-parenting was no walk in the park, but we persevered for the sake of our daughter. Some days were better than others, and occasionally old arguments would resurface, but we did our best to keep those disagreements away from Lily's ears. One sunny afternoon, I was at work, and the daycare was buzzing with the joyful sounds of children at play. I was in charge of the arts and crafts corner, helping the little ones express their creativity through various projects. As I knelt down to assist a group of kids with finger painting, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the bonds I had forged with these children and how they had, in turn, helped me heal. But as the day wore on, my phone buzzed with a message from Mason. It was unusual for him to contact me during work hours. I excused myself from the classroom for a moment to read his text. "Hey, Emily, can we meet for a coffee this evening? I need to talk to you about something important." My heart raced, and I couldn't help but wonder what Mason wanted to discuss. I quickly replied, "Sure, Mason. Let's meet at the coffee shop on Elm Street around 7 p.m. See you there." The hours seemed to drag on as I waited for the evening to arrive. What could be so important that he wanted to discuss in person? My mind raced with possible scenarios. From concerns about Lily to something more personal, I couldn't help but feel a sense of anxiety as the clock ticked away. Finally, the workday came to a close, and I rushed home to get ready. I wanted to make sure I looked my best, not out of vanity, but out of a desire to convey that I was doing well on my own, that I could handle anything life threw my way. Lily was with Sarah for the evening, a kind offer she had extended to help me with our meeting. The coffee shop on Elm Street was a cozy little place, known for its inviting atmosphere and excellent brew. I arrived a few minutes early, ordered a latte, and took a seat by the window, gazing out at the passing pedestrians. The thought of seeing Mason face to face was both exciting and nerve-wracking. As the clock struck 7 p.m., the door of the coffee shop chimed, and in walked Mason. He looked different from the man I had married, more worn, with a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. It was clear that the past months had taken a toll on him as well. He greeted me with a soft smile, and we exchanged pleasantries before delving into more serious matters. Mason's demeanor was far gentler than it had been when we last met, and he'd appeared genuinely apologetic. "Emily," he began, "I want to apologize for how I acted, for the hurtful things I said. It was wrong of me, and I regret it deeply." I nodded, listening carefully, unsure of where this conversation was headed. "I've done a lot of thinking since we parted," Mason continued. "I've come to realize that my parents' behavior and my own actions were inexcusable. You didn't deserve that treatment, and I'm truly sorry for not standing up for you." His words hung in the air, and I could see the sincerity in his eyes. I had hoped for an apology, but this was more than I had expected. Mason went on to explain that he had undergone a period of self-reflection. He admitted to his own flaws and how, in his desperation to appease his parents, he had pushed me away. He acknowledged his mistakes and promised to make amends. The weight of his words sank in, and I couldn't help but feel a mixture of emotions. It was a lot to process, and while I appreciated his efforts to mend our relationship, it was clear that trust would take time to rebuild. "Emily," he said earnestly, "I know I have a long way to go to make things right, but I'm committed to being a better father to Lily and a better partner to you. I want us to work together as a family, for her sake and for our own." I took a deep breath and met his gaze. It was a moment of decision, a crossroads in our journey. My heart told me that it was worth exploring the possibility of reconciliation, not just for Mason and me, but most importantly for Lily. "I appreciate your apology, Mason," I replied, "and your willingness to change. But it won't be easy, and we'll have to take things one step at a time. Our priority must always be our daughter's happiness and well-being." Mason nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. We continued to discuss the path forward, including the need for therapy and counseling to address the deeper issues that had strained our marriage. As we talked, it became clear that the future was uncertain but filled with potential. The decisions we made in the coming days and weeks would shape our lives and, more importantly, our daughter's future. Our meeting concluded with a sense of cautious optimism. We parted ways, both aware that the road ahead would be challenging, but perhaps there was hope for a new beginning. As I left the coffee shop and walked back to my small apartment, I couldn't help but reflect on how life had a way of surprising us. Just when I thought our story had taken a definitive turn, it had presented another twist, a possibility of healing and rebuilding. The following weeks were a whirlwind of discussions, therapy sessions, and tentative steps toward a renewed partnership. Mason and I were committed to putting our daughter first and creating a stable, loving environment for her. The road was bumpy, and there were moments of doubt and frustration, but we persevered. Lily, our precious daughter, was at the heart of our efforts. She was the reason we were working so hard to find common ground, to communicate, and to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. The smiles on her face and the laughter that filled our home were constant reminders of why we were on this journey. Life was a puzzle, and while some pieces had been misplaced, we were determined to put them back together. The story continued, filled with uncertainty and hope. But one thing was certain: we were a family, and we were willing to fight for our happiness. As we navigated the complexities of mending our fractured family, there were challenges we had to face head-on. The first step was finding common ground, a place where Mason and I could communicate openly without hostility or blame. Our therapy sessions provided a safe space for us to explore the issues that had driven a wedge between us. With the guidance of our therapist, we began to peel back the layers of resentment and misunderstanding, slowly revealing the core of our problems. One of the most significant revelations was Mason's struggle to stand up to his overbearing parents. He confessed that he had always been under their thumb, and their opinions had held immense influence over his decisions. even to the detriment of our marriage. It was a deep-seated issue that required time and effort to address. I, too, came to realize that I had kept my emotions and frustrations bottled up, believing that it was the best way to protect Lily from the turmoil within our family. But in doing so, I had isolated myself and allowed the divide between Mason and me to grow. Our therapist helped me understand the importance of expressing my feelings and concerns, even when they were uncomfortable. Lily, our bright-eyed, resilient little girl, had her therapy sessions as well. The guidance she received was age-appropriate, aimed at helping her understand and cope with the changes in her life. She was adapting remarkably well, her laughter and playfulness serving as a testament to her resilience. The more we delved into our individual and collective struggles, the more our perspectives began to shift. Mason had always been a loving father to Lily, and I realized that he wanted to be a better partner as well. It was a turning point in our journey, one filled with hope and a shared determination to build a stronger foundation for our family. With the support of our therapist, we implemented practical strategies to improve our communication and cooperation. We established boundaries with Mason's parents, asserting our independence and making it clear that our decisions as a family were our own. It was a challenging process, but it was a necessary one to create the space we needed to heal and grow. Slowly but surely, our efforts began to yield results. Our home, once a battleground, transformed into a place of compromise, understanding, and even laughter. Mason and I found ourselves engaging in heartfelt conversations, sharing our dreams and aspirations, and rekindling the spark that had initially drawn us together. One sunny weekend, we decided to take a family trip to a nearby nature reserve. The sight of Lily's joy as she explored the great outdoors, holding both her parents' hands, was a testament to how far we had come. The sun warmed our faces, the sound of birds filled the air, and the journey forward appeared promising. It was during that trip that Mason and I had a heart-to-heart conversation. We talked about our past, our present, and our dreams for the future. It was a conversation filled with vulnerability and honesty, laying the foundation for a renewed commitment to one another. Mason looked at me with sincerity in his eyes. "Emily, I know it won't be easy, and we've both made mistakes. But I want to rebuild our family, not just for Lily but for us as well. I love you, and I want to make things right." I met his gaze, my heart filled with a mix of emotions. "Mason, I believe in the possibility of a fresh start, but it won't be without its challenges. We'll need to keep working on ourselves and our relationship, and put our daughter's happiness at the forefront of all our decisions." He nodded, a determined expression on his face. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes. We have a second chance, and I won't let it slip away." With that, we sealed our commitment with a gentle kiss, a symbol of a new beginning, and an understanding that our journey would continue to be filled with ups and downs. The road to healing was a long one, but it was a path we were willing to traverse together, hand in hand. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, our family began to settle into a new normal. The changes were gradual, but the impact was profound. We had learned to communicate more effectively, to set healthy boundaries, and to prioritize our roles as parents while nurturing our partnership. Lily continued to thrive, surrounded by the love and support of both her parents. She was a testament to the resilience of children and the power of a loving family environment. Her laughter echoed through our home, serving as a reminder that our efforts were not in vain. Life was still a puzzle, but it was a puzzle we were determined to solve. The pieces were gradually falling into place, revealing a picture of hope, love, and renewed promise. Our story was far from over, and we were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that we were stronger together.